Welcome to this special edition of Daily Pulse, where we keep your finger on the pulse of the latest breaking news and the news they're keeping from you. Brought to you by the Vigilant Fox and Zeee Media. I'm your host, Maria Zeee. Over the 4th of July weekend, Central Texas was hit with catastrophic flash floods, with the worst of it being in Kerrville. Let us begin by offering our condolences for all of the lives lost and let you all know that we are praying for the community, their families, emergency services, volunteers, and all involved in the recovery efforts for this battered region. There have been questions surrounding weather modification operations in the area, which we will talk about later in the broadcast. Joining us first is Private Pilot Gary Heavin, who has been assisting in the area and can detail some of what he has seen and how it compares to the prior tragedy in North Carolina, which he also assisted in. Before we get into this special report, we want to tell you about one of the sponsors that make this show possible, the Satellite Phone Store, who has been assisting with satellite communications in disaster zones around the country for many years. Please consider them, as these products do and literally have saved many lives. Global chaos is spiking. Wars are erupting like never before. Communication systems are prime targets for EMPs, cyber attacks, or direct strikes. Don't wait. Secure your family's lifeline now with encrypted satellite communication from sat123.com/pulse. Grab the Immersat satellite phone, fully encrypted with 150 monthly minutes for only $85.95 a month, including rollover minutes, damage insurance, and a free Faraday bag. Or get the Bivvy stick for satellite SMS at just $45.99 a month with 150 credits. These are the lowest prices ever. Time's running out. Trusted by militaries, these work worldwide. Go to sat123.com/pulse now and use code PULSE for 10% off site-wide and stay connected no matter what. You can also give them a call on 1941-394-0406 to access heavily discounted open box and refurbished devices for an even more cost-effective purchase. That link again is sat123.com/pulse or call 1941-394-0406 today. Gary Heavin, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Maria. I'm glad to have this time with you.
Absolutely. And we're very, very grateful for your time and all of your work over the past few days. May I just add, thank you so much for your assistance with this tragedy surrounding Hill Country and Kerrville specifically. You've been conducting or helping to conduct rescue operations in the area. Talk to us a little bit about the past few days, why you got involved, and how long you've been doing this.
Well, I sold my company 13 years ago, Curves. Most people know me as a founder of Curves with my wife, Diane. And I have a passion for aviation. So when opportunities arise to use aviation, whether it's helicopters or jet aircraft, I go and help people. And I spent 6 weeks in Haiti after the Hurricane Matthew, and a million people lost their homes and their farms. And we were there 6 weeks, taking food out to the extremities and in bringing the wounded back in the cargo areas of our aircraft. I've taken Rand Paul to Haiti and to Trinidad. He's an ophthalmologist, and we were able to remove the cataracts from hundreds of poor elderly people and give them sight. And then fairly recently, North Carolina, I spent most of the week there. We were doing search and rescue in helicopters, and we were the only lifelines because all the bridges had been washed out. And then a lot of people saw the January 6th program, where we did Operation Airlift, where we moved dozens of January 6 prisoners that were freed in the middle of the night, literally put out on the street in the cold. And we made sure that we got them safe and warm and home, and in many cases, a couple thousand miles. So we moved them in aircraft in a variety of ways. But this one, much closer to home. Right now, I'm near Marble Falls. Marble Falls is kind of the forgotten place. They also had a disaster. We spent the last 2 days flying. I was joined by 6 other helicopters. There's an organization called Operation Hilo, which I work with in North Carolina. Well, they're here. and we are the only way to get out to the areas where people have drowned and been missing. And so we've been doing search and rescue, taking crews of National Guard and firefighters and volunteers out to the extremities, and they have to walk the shorelines, looking through the debris that is piled up for bodies. It's a terrible job, and my role is to both to go low and slow over the banks looking, and to bring these rescuers out there and bring them back and provide the transport. So it's been you know, it's terrible and it's wonderful. It's wonderful that you see people volunteering and coming together for their community. Uh, it's terrible because of what you're doing. I know I'm running on here, but I got to tell you about yesterday. We had a 17-year-old girl who was washed out of her car. The rest of her family were able to get to the shore. And yesterday, I had the privilege, and that's a tough word, to take her father and her little brother, who's 16, uh, on a search mission for their brother and daughter, sister and daughter. And I tell you, to see this man's courage as we went along the riverbank looking uh, for the body of his daughter was just a terrible thing. And I tell you what, it was tough for me to hold it together. And 1 hour ago, I just got word they found her body. So unfortunately, that was a terrible end to that event.
Well, extremely tragic, Gary, and words can't really describe the the response. I mean, it's hard to give an adequate response to these families when tragedy like this strikes, like we saw in North Carolina and all over the country. It seems that these sorts of, the fires and these sorts of weather events are on the increase, and it's just, again, I'm really kind of lost for words, other than we're just praying for these families, that they would have the strength to go through this. Thankfully, you were able to at least help with recovering the body so that there can be a dignified burial. I mean, I'd again, words don't really, there aren't really adequate words for this, but nonetheless, every single bit of your effort is appreciated. I want to ask you about what you witnessed there. You've sent us some video. We're going to bring that up on screen for the people while you were conducting these operations. Is this like anything you've ever seen before? It seemed to be 20 plus feet of water just rising out of nowhere. A lot of people have a lot of questions about how this got so tragic so quickly.
I'm familiar with Kerrville. In fact, my sister-in-law lives in Ingram, which is in that immediate area. She had to evacuate her home from the rising water. Uh, that river down there, when they went to bed that night, it was 3 feet deep. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, in 45 minutes, it went to 29 feet deep. And uh, that's just hard to believe that it could do that. And the real tragedy was it happened when everybody was asleep. No one was paying attention to the warnings on their phones. And July 4th weekend, you have thousands of people that are camping in campers or tents uh, along the river. And many of them woke up with water rushing through the windows of their cabins. So, it's just a freak event, a once every 100-year flood. And I don't think there was any way to prevent it. You and I are both believers in weather wars and know that it's quite real. There's certainly a lot of evidence that they manipulated Hurricane Helene that caused the damage in North Carolina. And I flew 7 hours a day over that area for almost a week in my helicopter, and saw trees, not trees, forest of giant trees that had been broken over, uh, and not by uh, a hurricane that had already traversed 700 miles from the ocean. It didn't have the winds to do that. There were odd things there. With this situation, you look at means, motive, and opportunity. I think they had the means and the opportunity, but I'm not sure what the motive would be. There's nothing in this area that lends itself. Sure, there's a lot of Republican voters there, but I'm not sure I see the motive. So I'm kind of, maybe this is just a natural weather event. We have a
Well,
lot of things going
I
on.
just want to say there, Gary, that we're certainly looking into it. I know that Doc Pete Chambers has put a call out. We're going to talk with the audience about this afterwards and some of the companies that may have been involved, one particular company denying involvement. We know certainly in the UAE, when they were conducting cloud seeding operations, that it turned into a catastrophic flood, and they denied that the cloud seeding operations had anything to do with that. There is definitely grounds for investigation. Doc Pete Chambers has put out a call. General Mike Flynn has echoed that call. We need more answers about this. So I think we will continue looking into it. Is there anything concrete at the moment? I would say no, but there are certainly questions that need to be raised. So we'll address that with the audience afterwards. I want to assure everyone we're not going to just let that go. But I appreciate your insight as far as what you saw here compared to North Carolina. Please do go on.
Well, speaking of cloud seeding, we do know, we have the government records that this particular area, Kerrville and Central Texas, has been heavily cloud seeded in the recent months, peculiarly so. And these are
Yes.
government records. This isn't, some theory. So there is some reason to look into this, certainly. I tell you, I've been so devastated. With 27 children that have died, these precious little girls. I just introduced you to my 10-year-old granddaughter, and that's the age group, and 27 of them have drowned in the situation. It's just, I spent so much time in prayer, praying for miracles that somehow that we would find these kids, these Christian kids that many of them had their Bibles in their beds when this thing hit. It's a tough thing to justify, but we know God loves us and He has a plan, and we've got to be praying for these families that are in such deep grief over such a terrible thing.
Can I
And
ask you, Gary, about the further comparisons between here and North Carolina? You mentioned, some of the scenes, the trees. What other comparisons can you make? What else was similar? I know that FEMA got heavily involved in North Carolina, really ruined a lot of the efforts from the people on the ground. Whereas here, it seems like a little bit of a different response. The Trump administration has certainly been very responsive to this. Talk to us a little bit about that.
yeah, that's a great question. We had Biden as the president, sort of.
Sort of. We had an auto
when
pen.
yeah, um, uh, in North Carolina, they call for volunteers. So 100 private helicopters, people like me showed up. And we were the only lifeline because all the bridges had been washed out. So you had people that were on dialysis, you had heart medicines, all sorts of things, thousands of them that were trapped and isolated. So we were able to get these 100 helicopters organized. I worked with an organization called Operation Hilo. It's operationhilo.org if anybody wants any more information about it. And we did missions all day long. We had a base of operations. People donated massive. We had hangars full of food and water, medical supplies. We had a clinic set up to do triage. It was a beautiful thing to see. And I personally flew 7 hours a day, out there and back, out there and back, and we were rescuing people. We were taking satellites. Musk donated to Starlinks, which, by the way, he's donated Starlinks for this event. And late in the week, FEMA shows up and confiscated the Starlinks, the food that had been privately donated, and began to divvy the stuff out so that they could get some sort of credit because they had nothing else to offer. There was no government money, that they brought no food or medicine, and they simply stifled everything we were doing. And that phrase, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you, it was exemplified in that situation. Now, under Trump, and I have a close friend who's very high up in the federal government. In fact, his name is Aaron Wrights. He is one of the 12 assistant U.S. Attorney Generals. He reports directly to Pam Bondi. Matter of fact, he's now running for Attorney General in Texas, a true patriot. So he's there now on site. Kristi Noem was there. So I've been able to get the information on what President Trump has been doing. So it's a completely different situation right now. The federal government is there helping. They've got aircraft and boots on the ground and completely different situation, as you would expect under a Trump administration. Now, I do have one complaint. They have 11 state helicopters there to cover a 55-mile distance because the Guadalupe at Hunt all the way to Canyon Dam, Canyon Lake is a disaster area, and there are bodies all along that river, and only 11 helicopters there. We had 100 helicopters, private helicopters in North Carolina. That's what we need here.
Right.
And they won't let us fly in that area because they've got 11 government helicopters. Well, we did it just fine in North Carolina. We need to be doing it now because there's bodies in that river that 55 miles you cannot cover with. So I've been pushing the federal government and the state government to let us in there now so that we can find people. There may still be people sitting in trees.
Right.
So
Well, we saw miraculous footage of that. I heard a story about one woman who was holding on. She was treading water for 4 hours, and then she muscled up or mustered the energy to call out to someone for help, and they took her in and helped her. And it was an incredibly heartwarming story. I guess, Gary, what I'm hearing from you, and even though the government response has certainly been better in this instance than it was in North Carolina, that was a disaster, everyone can agree. And I think the mainstream media has been lying about the Trump administration's response. If we're just being fair, they're saying that there wasn't really enough warning when there clearly was. There were multiple warnings that were issued. There is help that's been dispatched. But what I am hearing from you is that the effectiveness of the community and private people coming to help one another is much better than the federal government stepping in any case. Is that fair?
yeah, that's a very important statement. And I've been witness to it when people on their own are left to solve the problem. Communities, it's a much better thing because even with Trump in this situation, you've got the bureaucratic creep come in. And I guess I mean creep in two different ways. Uh, the head local guy down there, I don't know if it's a county judge or who it is exactly, said no private helicopters, and they've issued a zone, a restricted area that we can't even go down there to help because they're concerned that the 11 helicopters from the military they have in there will be in danger. Well, we can work around that. We can all communicate. We did it in North Carolina. So we need more help down there and get the bureaucrats out of the way, or somebody. The county judge doesn't have a clue how this all works, so he shouldn't be denying. What we could do this 10 times faster.
Right.
If we didn't have some bureaucrat telling us no. Even today, where I'm about to go back out, as soon as this rain stops, like we needed more rain. There's two levels of state officials now today. There wasn't yesterday that have to approve air operations here. Anyway, as an entrepreneur, I have a intolerance for bureaucracies, and so it's part of the misery.
You and the people on the ground, Gary, let me say, because like we just said, it's far more effective when the people are just allowed to help. I understand that there is a little bit of concern as well because of the fact that there are minors, so you can't just let everyone in. I understand that, but people that have, vetted and have been doing this for a very long time, such as yourself, who are trustworthy people, there should really be no issue letting those people in to assist with this. My understanding is that, how long do you think this cleanup and these rescue operations are going to be taking place?
Up here in this north zone where I'm at, we're really close to done. We've got a missing fire chief. We found his Jeep buried to just the very top portion, a piece of his top of his Jeep was uncovered. It was amazing. We found it, and it was buried under not debris, but literal rock and gravel. I personally flew National Guard with picks and shovels yesterday to the site. It took us 24 hours to dig enough of the Jeep out to see if his body was in it. And this is tough stuff. So we're still looking for him. We found a 22-year-old young man yesterday. We found his body. And as I mentioned, the 17-year-old hour or so ago. So we're down to just the fire chief and maybe one other person. Now, down at Kerrville, it's a different story. We're at 82 dead, 27 of them are children. We still got another 10 children missing. We don't know how many people were lost because so many were just coming to camp. There's no record of them being there. They'll, with 11 helicopters, they'll probably ought to spend a month. If they brought in 50 of us with private helicopters, we should get it done in a week.
Well, let me ask you then, Gary, in that instance, what can people do to support your efforts and sort of put pressure on the bureaucracy to allow private citizens to help? What is it that people need to be doing right now?
Well, talk to your state officials and tell them to get the bureaucrats out of the way, get private helicopters in there. And by the way, this Operation Hilo, this is what they do. And they cooperate with the government. We have an operations center. Everybody knows where everybody is. We're communicating on the same frequency. It's a beautiful thing to see. And if we can operate 100 helicopters out of Hickory Airport in North Carolina in the mountains, we can operate 50 helicopters out of the Kerrville area.
Right.
So speak to anybody of influence, particularly people in the Kerrville area. Call your city manager, your county judge, and tell them to get help in there, because if the military is going to do the entire job, and by the way, they've done a great job. And it's not the people operating there; it's
yes,
the decision makers. They need to crank this up using resources that have been proven to work, or instead of a week to find everybody, it's going to be 30 days.
Right.
It's just too big of an area to do it otherwise.
Are you able to please give us the website for Operation Kilo again?
Uh-huh.
Are you able to?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, sorry, go on.
OperationHilo.org. And the reason I'm hesitating is the operations have an S in it. You can probably post it though. OperationHilo.org. That's it.
OperationHilo.org. We've got that up on the screen for everyone. And this is what people can do to encourage their officials to let the private citizens and the private pilots come in, help more, bringing help and hope from the skies. Operation Hilo. Gary, we are so grateful for your time today. Again, thank you for all of your efforts, and we'll just keep praying for you, the crews out there, and all of the families and the people in that area. And hopefully, this is the last of the rain, and they can begin to rebuild and heal from this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Maria.
Are you protected in a world where threats of EMPs, solar flares, 5G, and all types of EMF are interfering with our very existence? Escape the grid with Escape Zone, bringing you the highest quality Faraday technology for ultimate preparedness. Choose when and where your devices are detectable. Faraday bags protect you from EMPs, car theft, card and device skimming, identity theft, tracking, Bluetooth, and GPS. Choose from premium mobile Faraday bags, crossbody bags, laptop bags, and even women's handbags, or opt for the optimum protection with a ballistic backpack, combining cutting-edge Faraday technology with a ballistic 3A Kevlar for the ultimate protection and preparedness. Now you can also protect from EMF with their top-notch EMF beanies and blankets, shielding you from some of the most harmful frequencies in our environment. Whatever your needs are, Escape Zone has you covered, and their range is perfect for personal use, family use, or even as a gift for someone you truly care about. Visit escapezone.com/pulse and protect you and your loved ones today. That's escapezone.com/pulse. We are so appreciative of people like Gary and all of those who are volunteering in the area. Now, there have been a lot of questions surrounding weather modification operations in the area, as there should be, by the way. I'm of the firm belief that weather modification is not only immoral and should be illegal and a crime, but even going with the argument that drought-ridden areas need it is not really sufficient, because even those allegedly targeted operations can and often do go so wrong. You may recall the catastrophic floods in Dubai last year. We just mentioned them in the interview with Gary. Despite the media's best efforts, it was widely known at the time that these floods were a direct result of cloud seeding gone wrong. The hubris of mankind aiming to play God and control the weather never ceases to amaze us. So did weather modification operations play a part in Kerrville and the surrounding area? Doc Pete Chambers, who we want to give a special thanks to, by the way. You would remember we interviewed him just last week. He's running for governor of Texas, and on Independence Day, while most people were celebrating, he dropped everything to go and help the residents of Kerrville. So a huge thank you to him and his tireless work. But Doc Pete Chambers put out a call over the weekend, which has been viewed over 2 million times now, asking people to look into who was responsible for this and when was the last cloud seeding. You can see from the images he attached to that post that there is a NOAA form on file for a rain enhancement and hail suppression project with Rainmaker. That spans from the 15th of March 2025 to the 31st of October 2025 for Trans Pecos. You can see the map attached to that form here, some of the operations detailed here, and another image which shows the Kerrville area affected. Interestingly, X account Into Thin Air posted a video on the 30th of June predicting something huge was coming, and specifically to this region as well in that video. Take a look at some of this now.
Welcome back, everyone. June 30th, 2025, and we are checking out the Gulf today. Take a look at this shockwave that covers every single Gulf state. Whatever this is, some sort of front, some sort of weird weather manipulation type thing going on, you can see the entire shockwave of this thing rolling up from the center of the Gulf, straight up to all states that touch that water. And as you get a little closer, near Texas and Louisiana, we start seeing our NEXRAD beams firing in all directions just as this front crosses that area. And then you're not going to believe what's on the horizon. Finally, we're already in July and we've only seen the letters A and B, which quickly formed and disappeared, which would be Andrea and Barry. Now, Chantel might be another story as far as hurricanes go, but we're expected to see at least a possible tropical storm in the Gulf this week or within the next 7 days. And you can see that right here on the 5-day tropical outlook chart. As of right now, they're kind of expecting this thing to possibly roll up the west coast of Florida and then hug the Gulf states, the Panhandle, Alabama, Mississippi. This could all change in a short period of time, but I think it's very interesting how we've had such a quiet season, and then out of nowhere we get this explosion of energy in the Gulf. That's a weird looking phenomena. It does not look natural to me. It's involving the NEXRAD towers, then zapping the crap out of this front. That seems artificially made to me.
With all of this going on, many people were keeping a close eye on the radar and the weather patterns over the last few days. Many did notice one thing. The storm over central Texas did not seem to move for days. This is a 16-hour loop that you're looking at here, and as you can see, it just does not stop. I'm going to fast forward it a bit here so that everyone can see. Just unbelievable over and over again. We also have another post from the same person there, Colin Myers. Here's a radar loop from the main event from Thursday afternoon, July 3rd, through Sunday evening, July 6th. So let's just take that back to the start of the video. You can see that loop here, all the way from Thursday through to July 6th, the 3-day loop from the radar. You can, of course, view that video on his account, share it, get people's insight into it. It is very, very bizarre indeed. Now, this in from Zero Hedge writing on the article. They've included a portion about Rainmaker, the company that we told you about before, where that form was filed with NOAA. Intense scrutiny has obviously fallen on Rainmaker Technology, a California-based weather modification startup, amid speculation that cloud seeding may have contributed to the flooding. Augusto Dorico, which is the CEO of Rainmaker Technology, has said, the natural disaster in the Texan Hill Country is a tragedy. My prayers are with Texas. Rainmaker did not operate in the affected area on the 3rd or 4th or contribute to the floods that occurred over the region. However, Rainmaker did operate earlier in the week. So he continued. Overnight from July 3rd to 4th, moisture surged into the hill country from the Pacific as remnants of Tropical Storm Barry moved across the region. At 1 a.m. on July 4th, the National Weather Service, which we work closely with to maintain awareness of severe weather systems, issued a flash flood warning for San Angelo, Texas. Note, summer convective cloud seeding operations in Texas do not occur during overnight hours. At 4 a.m. on July 4, the National Weather Service issued a life-threatening emergency warning and flooding ensued. Did Rainmaker conduct any operations that could have impacted the floods? He says no. The last seeding mission prior to the July 4th event was during the early afternoon of July 2nd, so just 2 days prior, when a brief cloud seeding mission was flown over the eastern portions of south central Texas and 2 clouds were seeded. These clouds persisted for about 2 hours after seeding before dissipating between 3 and 4 p.m. Natural clouds typically have lifespans of 30 minutes to a few hours at most, with even the most persistent storm systems rarely maintaining the same cloud structure for more than 12 to 8 hours. The clouds that were seeded on July 2nd dissipated over 24 hours prior to the developing storm complex that would produce the flooding rainfall. A senior meteorologist observed an unusually high moisture content prior to the event's arrival using NWS sounding data. It was at this point that our meteorologist determined that we would suspend future operations indefinitely. As you can see, we suspended operations on July 2nd, a day before the NWS issued any flood warning. Here are the flight logs for July from our South Texas program. Some people aren't buying this explanation. Texas Cloud Seeding CEO is funded by Peter Thiel, connected to Palantir. Augusto Dorico, 25-year-old tech bro and Thiel fellow who founded the weather modification startup Rainmaker. According to publicly available info, Dorico's company was reportedly cloud seeding over parts of Texas just 2 days before the historic flooding hit those regions. He received $100,000 through Peter Thiel's fellowship, the Post says. The same Thiel who co-founded Palantir, the surveillance and defense tech giant, tracking everything from troop movements to civilian behavior. So the Post asks, why is a Palantir-connected billionaire funding private weather experiments in Texas? Why is a 25-year-old with no public oversight allowed to modify the sky? They called it, quote, stewarding the natural world. They got biblical flooding instead, meaning Texas did. This isn't a theory. It's documented, privately funded, and totally unregulated. No vote, no consent, no accountability, just teal money, weather manipulation, and a flooded state left asking questions. And he's put his sources there as well. Now, there has been some speculation in relation to Kerr County previously rejecting the lithium battery storage project that was proposed. This is from July 4th, 2024, and some people are drawing comparisons to a similar project that was proposed in North Carolina that was similarly rejected by locals. There is also some speculation as to whether this has anything to do with it. Kerrville City Council unanimously approves KPUB's power generation plant. This is from March 14 of 2025. It says, with this approval, KPUB will move forward with the financing and development of the project, which will be a natural gas-fired reciprocating internal combustion engine generation plant. The project costs to build the facility are estimated to be up to $175 million. But it is important to clarify, this plant is set to be, from our understanding, in Colorado County, Texas, which is well over 3 hours away from Kerrville. Now, while many are still asking questions, and will be for some time, we think there is a really simple solution to the questions that arise every single time surrounding these catastrophes and whether weather modification is to blame. The only way to put these conspiracy theories to rest is to ban weather manipulation in its entirety and eradicate all doubt that there may be human intervention into these weather anomalies we are constantly seeing on the rise. They shouldn't be happening anyway. Our Earth was created with the ability to sustain droughts, periods of heavy rain, changing seasons, and so on. This has happened since the dawn of man, and man has been able to deal with and adapt to fluctuating weather just fine for generations. Marjorie Taylor Greene has the right idea. She says, "I'm introducing a bill that prohibits the injection, release, or dispersion of chemicals or substances into the atmosphere for the express purpose of altering weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight intensity. It will be a felony offense." Thank you, Marjorie Taylor Greene. "I've been researching weather modification and working with the Legislative Council for months writing this bill. It will be similar to Florida's Senate Bill 56. We must end the dangerous and deadly practice of weather modification and geoengineering." Whether these types of operations were at play here or not, we are in full agreement with MTG and supportive of efforts to make these operations a felony crime. We will obviously continue investigating this and let you know about anything else that rises to the surface. Please continue to pray for the victims and the community and all of those involved. In the meantime, we'd also like to let people know how you can support the affected area. Doc Pete Chambers has posted resources, including shelters, reunification centers, numbers, and other contacts where you can send your donations and also deliver physical donations to the community, such as food, water, supplies, clothing, and so on. You can also support Doc Pete Chambers, his efforts, and his campaign by visiting docpetechambers.org. That's docpetechambers.org. We also want to let you know that there are things that you can do to keep yourself fit, healthy, and protected in this world where it seems like attacks on our health come from all sides. Take charge of your health with the Energetic Health Institute, giving you the tools to lead a healthier, more balanced life, brought to you by Dr. Henry Ely and doctors just like him. True healers and physicians who are making people well successfully outside of Big Pharma. Visit myehialoha.org/#VFox and join their live conferences, virtual solutions summit, engaging Q&A sessions with their first-class, heart-centered professionals, and access all past event replays anytime, anywhere. You can also join the Healing for the Ages community led by Drs. Brian Ardis, Ed Group, Henry Ely, and Jana Schmidt, and become part of a movement dedicated to building a healthier future where health and healing comes first. All of these invaluable resources are a whopping 30% off when you use code VFox. Again, that link is myehialoha.org/#VFox with promo code VFox for 30% off. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. If you haven't noticed, we are committed to telling you the truth no matter what. You can catch us doing that every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's every weekday, Daily Pulse, where we keep your finger on the pulse of the latest breaking news and the news they're keeping from you. You can support us to stay independent by shopping directly with our sponsors who make this show possible. Their links are in the description below. You can also like, share, and give us your thoughts and comments on the broadcast. Make sure to follow Vigilant Fox on X at Vigilant Fox, as well as Substack to stay up to date with the latest breaking news. Follow Zeee Media on Rumble, where we also air this show each weekday and post our other deep dives. Follow at ZEE_media on X, and as always, all of our content is also on zeemedia.com. Join us every weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Tell everyone about it. And as always, keep your finger on the pulse with the Daily Pulse. Good night.